Alright everyone, welcome back to another video. Last time we left off with Virginia in the South, talking about the colony of Virginia and a lot of the southern colonies. Obviously there's 2 pages, a little bit of a long video, but we're now going to New England and the Puritans. There's a little bit of a smaller, this is only 1 page, but we'll see where it goes from there, and if I can, I'll try to fit in more, but it really depends on the time. But we'll get into it. In a sense, all the American colonies of England constituted a New England. But custom restricts the term to the 6 states east of New York: Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Of these, only 4 exist in colonial times. Maine was later formed from Massachusetts territory, and Vermont from land disputed between New Hampshire and New York. To understand New England, one must begin with the Puritan movement in Old England. The Puritans were not a denomination, although on American soil most of them formed congregational churches in which government was vested in the general body of members of each congregation. In England, some were members of the established Anglican Church. Who wished to simplify rituals, diminish episcopal authority, episcopal authority, and promote the doctrines of Calvin. They wanted to purify Protestantism of all that suggested Roman ritual. They adhered to a code of austere personal conduct, and most of them disapproved of worldly amusements, such as card playing, ballroom dancing, and the theater. They were strongest in the towns and cities, especially in the eastern counties of England, and among the so-called middle classes. In England, they opposed the autocratic policies and church doctrines of King James I and Charles I. In 1642, they rebelled against Charles and established a short-lived republic, absorbing Scotland and Ireland and the American colonies. Cromwell assented to the execution of King Charles in 1649. He established a liberal and fairly democratic policy, but all his attempts were balked by the fact that the Puritans did not represent a real majority. Most Englishmen wanted the old traditional government by king, lords, and commons, and though they had resented Charles's attempt to get along without Parliament, they also had no love for a Puritan military dictatorship. So, in 1660, Charles's son, Charles II, was reinstated on the throne. In the reign of King James I, some Puritans exiled themselves to the Netherlands, where they enjoyed the religious freedom denied them in England, but they felt that their children might lose their English heritage. Was there some place where they could find both Puritanism and an English atmosphere? Yes, in the American wilderness. So, the Plymouth Charter Company sailed in the Mayflower to the northern part to the northern part of Virginia, as yet unsettled, in 1620. They are known as the Pilgrim Fathers. A much larger and wealthier community of Puritans settled around Boston in 1630. Since they sought religious truths as they saw it, rather than religious freedom for its own sake, they expelled various heretics and limited the vote to church members of good standing. Roger Williams, a Baptist who favored the complete separation of church and state, settled in Providence, Rhode Island, and Hutchinson in Connecticut. The Quakers were not tolerated, and many had to find refuge in Pennsylvania. The colonists in Massachusetts colony had a magnificent concept that education was important. They established universal education and required towns to maintain schools. They founded the first American university, Harvard, named for one of its early benefactors. Of course, the Puritan theocracy could not stand indefinitely. The British government might suffer congregations. Oh boy, this is a word that I haven't spoken much, but congregationalist. Congregationalist? That is a weird word. Long word, and sometimes not the best at pronunciation, let's say. If they were as far away as America, but could hardly sanction discrimination against Anglicans. Moreover, some of the later arrivals had more interest in making a living than in question of doctrine. One Puritan leader reminded the people of a fishing settlement that their fathers had come to New England for purity of faith. A dissident arose and said, "You must be thinking of the people down at the bay. Our chief aim was to catch fish." The Puritan was turning into the Yankee. A blot upon the Puritan record was an outbreak of witchcraft panic in Salem in which 19 persons were executed by the New Englander. But the New Englanders were more merciful than many Europeans, such as those in Germany and Scotland, in hanging the supposed witches instead of burning them. Moreover, Samuel Sewall, one of the judges, becoming convicted of his error, did an annual penance of the anniversary of his erring decision. What is a Yankee? Many Europeans apply the term to all people from the United States, much to the annoyance of the person from Mississippi or Alabama. In turn, it may mean anyone from the North, but properly speaking, it means only the New Englander, and will here be used in the sense. The word calls upon the image of a peddler carrying a pack of Yankee notions for sale, as industrious, thrifty man, turning a penny many times until it becomes a shilling. Or perhaps it means a young school ma'am holding a blue-backed speller before a class of children. New England was the teacher of the nation's teachers. Most New Englanders were farmers, but many were cod fishermen, shipbuilders, and merchants. They were eminent in all the professions. This tiny and rather bleak corner of the country has probably produced as many outstanding poets, essayists, historians, philosophers, and natural scientists as has all the rest of the United States. If it yields the palm to the South for leadership in politics and war, it excelled in scholarship, authorship, science, and invention. It's really good how they break. I'm going to be honest, this book has really broken down things really nicely. Obviously, there are some words in here that I'm struggling with, but which is actually a surprise. I actually know quite a bit, but even for me, some of these words are a little hard for my brain to wrap around. But it's nice how they're breaking everything down and talking about things in a very honest way. A lot of the Puritans, uh, they tried to kind of rise up, and they definitely did not make themselves many friends, many of the places they went, because they were so strict. Now, it wasn't because they were trying to be mean or rude or things like that. It was just they were very determined to keep things pure. Now, the Christian faith very pure. And so they were very unliked by many people. That's why they leave England kind of because they thought they were going to be kind of killed actually. And part of that has to go back to Cromwell somewhat. But they thought they were going to be killed, so they go to the Netherlands, and like I said, they were like, our children are going to lose their English heritage. We have to leave. So they go to the New World, and there they will found a very important part of America, and will, like they said, very much found a lot of what we think of as our authors, scientists, and things like that. But now we'll get into some of what these pictures are. I show them, but it's nice to break them down. So the top left here, this one here, is the Pilgrims, a group of English and Dutch Calvinists wanted to emigrate to a place where they could have religious freedom. In this illustration by Currier and Ives, they are shown landing at Plymouth on the 11th of December, 1620. The ship, the Mayflower, is in the distance. You can see there's the Mayflower right there. At the top right, the center of Massachusetts Bay Colony. Oh, actually, it's probably here. It says top right. Well, this is the top right. This is what they mean. In the top right, the center of Massachusetts Bay Colony, Boston, had many grand churches that were built in the 18th century. Christ Church, as illustrated in 1723. So this is an illustration of the Christ Church. And yeah, obviously, New England has a lot of churches. A lot of them are decently old. Very, very pretty. If you ever can go to them, definitely you should. They're very, very pretty. But I very much myself actually like seeing them. And here is Boston was a flourishing city in the 1750s. This view shows the main square. The old State House on State Street, in the center of the painting, still stands as do many of the other buildings. And obviously, how they printed this, it doesn't show it the best, but yeah, you can see a lot of this. And yeah, this is a very old and well-known square. The old State Building is the one that's getting split in half by the page, but yeah, a lot of these buildings still there, still and very, very old, obviously. And the top right here, the Puritans were a group of very deeply religious group. In this painting by Boughton, they're going through the woods to Sunday service. Yeah. Obviously, this is what a lot of people think of the Pilgrims. This right here, these guys right here. They think of the hats with the buckles on them and all that. But yeah, they were very religious, um, of course, and they didn't kind of go over as much depth here. I think they were trying to get the main things. But when the Pilgrims arrive, they have kind of a struggle of surviving for a bit, and they get help from the Native Americans there. Um, they kind of get taught the way of the land. And the story goes is that they then invite the natives and they have a big feast to thank them and thank God and all this. And that becomes the first Thanksgiving. That's how the story goes. Is it quite like that? No. But it's a nice story, isn't it? But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys like the video, leave a like. If you have any ways you can improve these videos, leave a comment down below. I always appreciate your feedback. And as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.